Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. So sort of a moment, we got a little bit surprised by this, but Stephan Sterns, whose trial for SA, and you guys know what that means. I'm not going to say it because YouTube doesn't like you to say it. Tomorrow was supposed to start, and he potentially, after trial, could have received life in prison without parole for that case. And then in September, his murder in the first degree trial was supposed to start, and that's a capital murder case, which he would be eligible for the death penalty. And we've spoken about this in the case of Brian Koberger. Even though the death penalty is not utilized, it is very useful as a bargaining tool, as leverage against the defendant. And in every case, the defendant does not want to die, does not want to receive the death penalty. And this man, Stephan Sterns, is one of the biggest cowards I've ever seen in my life. So you know that he waited to the very last minute to tell his attorneys, I want to plead guilty. You know, he wants to plead guilty now because A, he knows he is guilty, and B, because he does not want to get the death penalty. So at this late hour, a day before his SA trial was about to start, it appears today at 1:30 that Stephan Sterns is going to look to plead guilty to both those cases. And it's an all or nothing. He has to plead guilty to the SA as well as the murder, or there's no deal. And as I said, I'm pro death penalty, but I think the death penalty has been hijacked by the other opinion, the anti-death penalty people, because after someone gets sentenced to it, it could be 20 to 25 years before the sentence is actually even carried out, and maybe not even. Maybe it'll be appealed, and it'll be appealed to life without the possibility of parole. So we're going to talk about today, and I have my great co-host, Professor Mike Geary. But first, folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your loved ones, hold on to your cup of coffee, hold on to your senses. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
And now a word from our sponsor. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From Major League Baseball, UFC to tennis, and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. BetOnline, the game starts here. Joining me today, I'm thrilled to have him because he's such a knowledgeable person, a man of reason, very calm, not like me. So I'd like to welcome to the show retired NYPD Sergeant, professor at Albertus Magnus College in Connecticut, attorney. Welcome to the show, Professor Mike Geary. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Bill. Good afternoon. Good to see you. It's going to be a good show today.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. I see a lot of people in the chat. Milwaukee Civilian, Kim Allison, Candy Kitten, Simi Sharp, Sherry Murray. My God, some Fuzzy Doxy, Marie Jubenville, Kathy Bennis. Wow, I got Nora Divergente. I hope I said that correctly. I learned how to pronounce names when I was a professor because One Sock Candy from North Carolina, welcome to the show. So, Mike, this is sort of, in a way, unexpected, but in a way, not unexpected. We thought that earlier on he would have pled guilty, but he took it right to the wire. Tomorrow, his SA trial was supposed to start, and this guy wanted no part of this death penalty case. So he probably figured he had more to bargain with if he did it before the SA trial, because let's face it, you're putting the family and all the public, everyone, through this horrific trial with all these horrible photographs on his phone. So he probably figured he had more to bargain with, and thus he appears apparently to plead guilty today. Your thoughts?
Bill, yeah, he has a lot to gain by doing what he did, by trying to combine the cases, pleading guilty to both of them, getting them over with. Because under Florida law, for the death penalty, one of the prerequisites, the aggravating factors, is a previous sexual SA conviction. So Florida wanted the SA conviction now, and when they go to the death penalty case, the homicide, in a couple of months, it fits Florida's homicide statute. However, in this case, he can avoid that sort of dual trial and possible death penalty by combining the two. And I think his attorneys well represented him. And I believe that for whatever reason, the state wants to go with the life behind bars without possibility of parole, despite how strong the homicide and SA cases are against him both. They're excellent cases. He's suspect numero uno. That's it. But his attorney did a good job in reaching out to the prosecution and coming to a deal. It saves everybody. But in this way, I'm not going to say he wins, but his life is assuredly saved.
Absolutely. From the chat, there's an interesting comment. Gorgeous George. I was thinking of Curious George, was that book when I was a kid with that little monkey. But this is Gorgeous George, not Curious. Stephan Sterns is such a freaking wuss. He's not taking a plea out of any sense of doing the right thing. If he pleads guilty on the SA, doesn't that give Florida a clear path to the death penalty for trial number 2? Mike, you answer that one.
Yeah. Great question. I think Gorgeous George was a wrestler. That's where I think you get your moniker from. I think it's Gorgeous George, maybe back in the 60s or something like that.
I think you're right, Mike.
It's where when I heard the name, I was like, oh, that's got to be it. I think he would not plead guilty to the SA without having the death penalty case combined. That in this way, it's worked out with the prosecutor that he will just get life behind bars without, and that's it for the rest of his life. No possibility of parole or anything like that. He wouldn't plead guilty to the SA and then stand trial and plead innocent to that case. No, because that would really hurt him. That would make it much easier now to get the death penalty in the second trial. So it's a great question, but yeah, this works for him only if both cases are combined and he gets to plead guilty to both of them, and the death penalty is already discussed and off the table. So great question.
This is an extremely disturbing case. All right, and we covered it from the beginning. To put it in perspective, on February 26, 2024 was when Madeline Soto was reported missing. And right from the start in the interviews with Stephan Sterns and Jennifer Soto, we knew something was fugazi. And for someone who's doesn't watch this show, fugazi is a New York word. It's like an Italian word. Something is rotten in Denmark almost. You could use the same sort of thing. Something was off. And we here didn't believe a single word that Stephan Sterns said, and for that matter, for Jennifer Soto. And many people, I already saw it in the chat, believe that, and I'm one of them, that Jennifer Soto should be charged also. And maybe not the most severe charges, but obviously complicit in this horrific missing, the abuse, and which ultimately led up to the murder of her daughter, Madeline Soto.
Yeah, Bill. In the case of Jen Soto, that really rubs a lot of people the wrong way. If you're a parent or a father, and especially if you're a mom, you cannot understand really in good conscience how this could be allowed. And scarily enough, when she had an interview with the detective, I think at one point to get her car back or something like that, she went to pick it up and they interviewed her, and you could see the camera from above, like a ceiling camera. She was sitting on a couch, and she basically readily admitted that she knew something was up and that she knew that there was some intimate activity involved, but she didn't think it was a bad thing or something like that. I forget the exact word she used. She didn't think it was really all that bad. That horrifies a lot of people. And why, as police officers or as parents, we don't see an arrest made. Because if I was that detective, I'd be looking at her like, oh, okay, maybe I should just stand up and put the handcuffs on you. But I guess I'm thinking strategically, they want to wait until the case of Stephan Sterns is over with before they do something against her. I'm hoping they do, and I'm hoping I'm right about their tactics by getting rid of his case first and then concentrating on her. I'd like to see that. I don't know how they could. I don't really see how they could not bring her up on charges.
Like I got a feeling that they're not going to charge her at all, even after this is all over with. If he absolutely pleads guilty to the essay and then pleads guilty to the capital murder, I think the state is going to look at it like, okay, this is over with. We can now wash our hands of this case. They could claim that Jennifer Soto was like, what's that? Where you're sort of Stockholm syndrome type thing.
Yeah.
She was like a captive of him and somehow hypnotized by him or controlled by him. That defense has been used in a lot of times, and the state can even raise that not as her defense, but as an excuse as to why they don't charge her.
I agree. I'm a cynical person. I'm a cynical old law enforcement officer. I want to see them act against her as soon as possible. But as you say, we do understand that sometimes agencies like the district attorney's office, they may want to see this case go away. As you say, you get the one most responsible and you just forget about everything else and put it away. I hope that's not the case, because they have a strong case against her and charge her, and she's not going to go to trial. She would plead, and you'd put her in prison where she belongs for a good stretch. But I agree with you. As much as I want to see it happen and you want to see it happen, there's a part of me that says, yeah, they just want to get rid of this.
Folks, just so you know, the hearing is supposed to start at 1:30. So we're trying to give you a preamble to that hearing and some background, but he's not going to, the court hearing is not going to, it's not a press conference, it's a hearing. And whether he'll actually get to plead publicly today, or is all of the negotiations been behind the scenes, we don't specifically know that, because it seems like for them to just throw it together and for the judge to do what Judge Hippler did with Brian Koberger, it seems a little quick. They may have to do a little more planning, a little more research with this. Anders Gustafsson, the state has an abundance of evidence in both cases for Stephan. I don't think they have enough evidence against Jennifer to charge her. I'm convinced that she knew both of S.A. and the murder. Anders, I agree with you. 100%. But I think that they have enough to charge her. Maybe not for the murder, but absolutely for the abuse. Absolutely. She was not looking out for her daughter. She was not protecting her daughter. She saw a lot of inappropriate behavior between Stephan Sterns and her daughter and did nothing about it. So, Jenny Allison from the chat. Jen had to know she needs to be charged. She was Maddie's parent. It was her job to protect her no matter what. At least charge her with child neglect and abuse. Jenny, I agree with you. I agree. And I'm sort of baffled as to why the state has not moved forward with charges against her at this late. And Mike could be right. They could be waiting for the charges to be finalized and the case to be disposed of against Stephan Sterns before they move against Jennifer Soto. I'm going to play this from WESH-TV.
Mean that the trial wouldn't happen and also that the death penalty could be off the table, but a judge would have to agree to accepting that plea. Now, the trial that was supposed to start tomorrow was supposed to be for 60 counts of sexual abuse, and that Sterns raped Maddie for years and recorded video of it with his phone. Investigators say they found those videos while searching for Maddie when she vanished last year, a day after her 13th birthday party. Sterns was the boyfriend of Maddie's mom, and Kissimmee police believe that he killed Maddie, dumped her body along an Osceola County road. Prosecutors were planning to use a conviction in the sex abuse case to argue that Sterns should get the death penalty in the separate murder case. Wesh 2's legal analyst believes they would have a strong case.
Do I think this could have likely resulted in a death sentence? Yes, absolutely. Just given sort of the heinous nature of the offense that was committed, I think it's something that the prosecutors could have received.
And we are told that Sterns will plead guilty in both the sex abuse and murder cases. Today, the judge will also be able to hear from Maddie's family members. That could include her mom, her dad, or other family members. The death penalty isn't necessarily off the table, though. The judge could order a sentencing trial after the plea unless there is some sort of plea deal in place. There's also a chance that the judge could reject the plea in the first place, and that would mean that the sex abuse trial would go on as planned starting tomorrow. That guilty plea hearing is set to start at 1:30 this afternoon. Covering Osceola County live in Kissimmee, Bob Hazen, Wesh 2 News.
Wesh 2 has been tracking the Stephan Sterns case for over a year now. Jason Guy joins us in the studio. Jason, let's take a look back at how we actually got here.
Well, Alan, it was all February 26th of 2024. That's when Madeline Soto was reported missing. Stephan Sterns, the mom's boyfriend, reportedly dropped her off near Hunters Creek Middle School. 2 days later, Sterns was arrested on charges of sexual battery and possession of child sexual abuse material after investigators say they found photos on his phone. A day after that, investigators say Sterns was the prime suspect in Madeline's disappearance. Deputies found her body in a wooded area on March 1st. Then, 11 days later, on March 12th, 60 more charges were filed against Sterns. Many of them were related to sexual battery and molestation in this case. Meredith?
And Jason, Wesh 2 will be in the courtroom today. The moment we hear if the judge accepts the plea, we will send a push alert on our Wesh 2 News app. Be sure to have your alerts turned on.
So it's sort of, I cannot see the judge turning down the plea. I just feel that they would have spoken to the judge and got his feelings before they actually go live in court. And I think, like we spoke about with the Koberger case, that this saves a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of heartache for the state to go forward with this case through a plea rather than have to go through 2 trials, which will cause a lot of anxiety for the family of Madeline Soto. And, you know, don't forget, she was, what was she, like a 6th grader, a 7th grader?
Right.
And all her classmates, all these little kids that are still following this and what happened to little Maddie, this is what's going on. And really too much of a grown-up case for young kids that age to sort of digest what the hell happened here.
Yeah, Bill, I agree with you 100%. I don't see how there's a possibility. I really don't see any possibility of the judge going into court, having him plead, and then not accepting a plea and starting the trial, or, you know, accepting the plea and then discussing in a small little trial for, you know, what's the proper punishment. I don't think it's going to happen. I think in all 50 states that have the death penalty, states that don't have the death penalty, life behind bars without possibility of parole for a person who's committed a homicide or SA on a little child repeatedly. Life behind bars is not a totally inconsequential punishment. So it's right up there, really close to, you know, the death penalty, but not quite there. But it's still within the same ballpark. It's still very severe. That's it for him. We shouldn't hear about him for the rest of our lives, and his life is over. So I think the judge is going to, it's already been, my guess, worked out behind the scenes. He'll probably approve it, give the thumbs up, and we can move on with this case. And you're right. The judicial economy here is that you get rid of 2 cases and this one horrific person, you put him away forever, and we don't have to talk about this case. And we learn from it, and then, and that's it. We put it on the shelf. But I think this will, this plea, I don't think there's any way this plea won't be accepted. I think he'll get his plea. The judge will okay it because it's already been okayed, and that's it.
I really like that term you use, judicial economy. I was like,
okay.
wow, where did he get that from? And I could tell he's an academic,
Yeah.
I don't have any of those cool expressions anymore because I'm not teaching anymore, and I'm not
Right. Oh yeah.
I'm not down in where all the new terms come out, so it's just like when you work the street, you come up with the newest street slang,
Right.
And I used to go into my classes and say some things that I learned in East Harlem, and they go, Cannon, we never heard that before. I said, that's right off the press in East Harlem, El Barrio, Spanish Harlem,
Right.
And they would get a kick out of it because I would come up with some slang that they didn't even know,
It's good stuff.
Michael Bass, can he be denied a plea deal in Sam case, but get a deal in the M case, in the abuse case, but get a deal in the murder case? Mike, you can answer that question.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just because I think that's probably already been worked out that the judge will accept the plea for both, and considering that the murder case is more serious, of course, murder is always more serious than SA, that they're both going to be worked out behind the scenes. He wouldn't get denied an SA plea and then have to stand trial for murder. I don't think so. I don't think his attorney would agree to anything like that. I think his attorney would say, look, 2 cases into one, and we accept, we make the plea, and then that is it. We go on. I don't think there's going to be any sort of, do we accept one and reject one and accept the other and reject the other? I don't think so. I think it's already been worked out.
Mike, I think you're 100%. I think you're 100% right. Someone asked that exact question in the chat, and I wrote, Kelly, I believe so. I spelled it wrong because I wasn't looking at the, but I meant to write believe. So, yeah, I mean, one of the things is that what raises the murder 1 to a capital murder is that the underlying felony. And that's why Mike's trying to explain in his legalese that you need the underlying felony to raise the murder to a murder 1st degree and make it death penalty eligible. But right now, and we spoke about this with Brian Koberger, the death penalty, whether you're pro or against the death penalty, it definitely has its use at the negotiating table, because none of these mopes want to get killed for what they did. None of them want to be put to death. So at the 11th hour, it's let's make a deal. I'm willing to plead guilty because I don't want to get, in the case of Brian Koberger, the firing squad. And I think in Florida, what is it? Is it a lethal injection?
Lethal injection, yeah.
So Stephan Sterns, I don't want to get a lethal injection, Daddy and Mom, like he's such a weasel. So, it is effective, and people will argue against it. But 2 cases in a row, we're getting a plea because the defendant did not want to be fried, executed, firing squatted, lethal injected. They didn't want that. And believe me, even the most scary criminals you ever come across, when it's time to meet their maker, they don't want to meet him. They want to live. They choose life, Mike.
Oh yeah. And just think about it. If we go to a death penalty case and he gets convicted and he's sentenced to death, it's going to be 20 to 25 years. Okay. So that's 2045, 2050. I'm going to be 90 at that point. He's going to be like 60, 68 or something like that. And during that 20 or 25 years, there are mandated state, according to the U.S. Constitution and the Supreme Court, there are mandated state appeals that are required. And he can't waive his appeals. Whatever they will be made for him, whether or not he wants to cooperate or not. They are absolutely required under state law. So that's going to take a couple of years in the Florida courts. After that, there's discretionary appeals from a state court into federal court, and then his attorney can then take this to the Southern District of Florida federal court, and then to I think it's the Fifth Circuit that covers the Florida region, that Louisiana, Florida area, and then maybe an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. So the problem with that is you're always going to be hearing about this guy every couple of years, and it just keeps putting his name out there and people having to relive it. And let's put this guy in a box, in a cold, dark box somewhere where he belongs. So we, as the public and any other people he may have affected with his terrible behavior, will never have to hear him again. So it is absolutely a great tool to have, whether or not you like the death penalty or not. It's great to have it as a district attorney. As you say, it's sort of Damocles over the defendant's head. Nobody wants to suffer the death penalty.
Exactly. Milwaukee civilian. Police off the cuff, I agree, but don't stupid killers also know that they aren't going to die for decades? Is self-preservation that powerful? Absolutely. Milwaukee civilian. I've seen the baddest mofos that if they hear like the death penalty, even though New York State doesn't have it anymore, but we could sometimes lie to them and say the feds is going to get involved in this case. And you can get the fed. You have to see their face, their eyes. Oh my God, all of a sudden, Mr. Bad isn't so bad anymore, Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. You like real crime, true crime, you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe, share us, hit the like button, and make comments. We love to hear from you, and that also helps our algorithm. And if you want to contribute to us, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels, and we also have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels, and you could become part of the Police Off the Cuff YouTube family, and we'd be thrilled to have you. Let me play this from News 6.
New plea. Stephan Sterns previously pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder, and he is set to go to trial tomorrow here on dozens of sex crime charges. But this plea hearing could change all of that. We got a chance to talk to an attorney about what all of this means. 1 week ago, Stephan Sterns was in court preparing for the first trial connected to the rape and murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. But less than 24 hours before that was scheduled to begin, he's expected to enter a new plea.
Let's say he gets, and the agreement is life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Eben Self is an attorney not affiliated with the case. He says if Sterns pleads no contest, he would go to prison while not admitting guilt. The judge, however, would have to approve it.
Even though it's a perfectly acceptable, statutory approved plea, there are still some judges who won't accept that to certain crimes or just under certain circumstances.
Sterns was set to be tried for sex crimes with jury selection starting tomorrow and is scheduled to go to trial for murder later this year. With the death penalty on the table for that case, Self says he isn't surprised this change is happening just before Sterns is set to face a jury. At this point, neither the defense or prosecution has said if a plea deal has been reached. That hearing is scheduled for 1:30 this afternoon, and we'll stream it live on clickorlando.com. In Osceola County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
So hopefully, we're waiting to 1:30 and to see. Everyone's reporting this that, no agreement has been reached, but that the defense, the prosecution, and the judge have been in communication with each other of what their intentions are. And if the judge was going, I believe if the judge was going to rule against this, I don't think they would go forward with it. So the judge probably would have indicated an affirmative answer to whether he would allow this plea, Mike.
Yeah, Bill, this is interesting because how is Sterns' attorney and Sterns and the prosecution, what have they agreed to? Have they agreed to, like the Koberger case, outright admission of guilt? Did you kill those people? Yes. Do you kill that person? Yes. That sort of thing. Just yes. So he affirmatively admitted to his guilt. In this case, we don't know if Sterns will enter a no contest answer to the question, are you guilty of the crime? And the no contest would be that you deny, you will not contest the charges. Nolo contendere, you will not contest the charges. And so therefore, once you do that, it's considered a conviction without you having affirmatively stated that you're guilty. There's also a possibility, and Florida does accept an Alford plea. It's an old Supreme Court case, Alford versus North Carolina, where you totally maintain your innocence. You affirmatively say that you are innocent, but then acknowledge that there's enough evidence to convict you of a crime. So it'll be interesting as to what goes on. Will it be an affirmative, yes, I actually, admit to my guilt, or is it going to be no contest? I have nothing to say, in which guilt will automatically be entered, or an Alford plea where he says, I am innocent and I didn't do these crimes, but I understand that there may be enough evidence to convict me, which still ends up in a conviction. Either way, all three ends up in a criminal conviction. But it'll be very interesting how the judge handles this.
People are telling me they're showing the courtroom, but it hasn't. I don't believe it's begun yet. So as soon as it goes live, I will. Lucky, tell me, Sarge, do you have the feed? They're showing the courtroom. I'll go to that as soon as they start going live. I don't want to just look at the courtroom, but yeah, this is a really surprising event that they're going to. That he's going to plead guilty at this last hour, because, he was also talking about how innocent he was, and, he's going to take this to trial. I mean, when you think of the evidence, and I always think of now Matt Murphy, they're speaking in the courtroom. Let me see if I can get it up on the, let's see. Hang on one second, guys. I'm trying to find it. I will get up on it as soon as I can. Mike, you could talk to them while I'm looking for this.
Yeah, Gorgeous George made a comment about the Alford plea, and he's like, I hope the judge does not accept this. In this case, Mr. George, I think it's a possibility that and it's probably already been worked out, that the judge would not accept, an Alford plea and allow this person, this human being charged with these horrific crimes with all the evidence against him, to actually say, oh, I am innocent, Your Honor, but I understand that there's enough evidence to convict me. If I'm that judge, I would have a hard time with that one. I think that, and the judge could reject that. It's up to
all right, Mike. We got it, Mike.
Trial for beginning tomorrow, and what could a plea now look like for this? You kind of broke down what we're kind of looks like. What do you think it could look like in this case?
Well, I'm hoping if they accept this plea deal, that he will allocate to exactly what happened, to also say whether there were others involved, and to indicate, if so, if they were involved, will he provide that information to law enforcement so they can extend their investigation and continue to search out whether he was the only one that was involved in these charges against Madeline and potentially others.
We were preparing for a trial and now a plea hearing this afternoon. What should we be watching for?
It's going to be off the table, because it doesn't have to be off the table, even though we're having this hearing right now. They could still move forward with a death penalty case, a death penalty hearing for him, in light of what we have been seeing in Florida.
Now, as the judge is getting ready to talk here, I don't want to miss anything, but so I'm going to kind of pull up the volume here, and if things get underway, we'll just go ahead and start listening in. But I am curious about the timing of this. I mean, this has been a case that has been kind of a long time coming. And here we are now. I'm just curious what you make of the timing of this.
I think it is self-serving for this defendant. I think he wants to save his life, not less necessarily in the interests of justice, but this is what he can do to save himself from dying potentially.
The judge was
Where,
speaking, and we weren't getting too much sound, so wondered how good the
audio
sound
here
is in the
so you can
courtroom.
hear that. You see Stephan Sterns inside the courtroom here. You mentioned the 60 counts of the sexual battery trial that he was getting ready to go on trial for beginning tomorrow. What could a plea now look like for this? You kind of broke down what we're kind of going to be watching for. What do you think it looks like? What do you think it could look like in this case?
Well, I'm hoping if they accept this plea deal, that he will allocute to exactly what happened, to also say whether there were others involved, and to indicate if so, if they were involved, will he provide that information to law enforcement so they can extend their investigation and continue to search out whether he was the only one that was involved in these charges against Madeline and potentially others. So, as you said, we were gearing up for tomorrow with jury selection and, for that trial to begin. But I think we need the details of his heinous behavior and activity so we can put some of this to rest, including the investigation portion. But hopefully they're still investigating.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get us inside the courtroom here so we can listen in as this gets underway. It does sound like the audio quality is not the best at this time. I'm going to try to adjust things here and see what we can do.
It's the defense attorney is speaking right now, but they don't have very good audio coming from the courtroom here. So we're not actually even hearing it. She's speaking. Now the judge is talking.
Ask the folks that have joined us remotely to please mute their microphones.
Perhaps I could go try it on another station. I don't know, unless it's the same on all of these.
It might be one feed from the courthouse.
Yeah, it could be, but
Yeah.
we're not getting good sound at all. Yeah, the audio, someone said the audio was terrible the last time also.
Yes. Oh, right. It was. That's right. That's right.
So, I don't know if it would pay to go to another channel. I could. So, this was one of the most horrific cases, and we've seen so much of the evidence against Stephan Sterns and his behavior leading up to this day, his calls to his parents, his motions by his attorneys. Court TV is better volume. Let me see if I can get on Court TV right now. I'll stop sharing this. Okay, let me see.
Well, let's hope their volume is a little bit better than ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be just the one single outlet that the courthouse allows.
Yeah, I'm not. Hang on one second. Mike, you can continue to talk to the audience because I'm trying to find.
Yeah, it's the Alford plea leaves a bad taste in people's mouths because there's no a real admission, even with the nolo contendere. There's no admission of guilt. However, everybody does want to hear a defendant.
Mike, I think I got it.
Okay.
The plea form goes over what our rights would be. In 2024 CF 1293, you are charged with the allegation of first-degree premeditated murder. In 2024 CF 632, you are charged with 60 counts. The first 9 counts being sexual battery with a child 12 to 18 years of age. Counts 10 through 13 being sexual battery with a child 12 to 18 years of age. Counts 14 through 20 being lewd or lascivious molestation. Counts 21 through 60 being unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance.
This is the best sound we have right now, guys.
Not bad.
Your Honor, counts 1 through 8 are sexual battery on a child under 12.
My apologies. Counts 1 through 8 are capital sexual battery on a child under 12. The plea form contemplates in 2024 CF 1293 one count of murder, first degree, capital offense. Plea form on 24 CF 632 contemplates counts 1 through 8, 9 through 13, 14 through 20. With the representation that the state of Florida is withdrawing their notice of intention to seek the penalty of death upon acceptance of this plea, the maximum potential sentence on 24 CF 1293 would be life in prison without possibility of parole. Has the maximum sentence been explained to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And 24 CF 632 counts 1 through 8, the maximum potential sentence would be a mandatory sentence of life in prison without possibility of parole. 9 through 13 and 14 through 20 would be first degree felony allegations with a maximum potential sentence of up to life in prison. You understand those maximum potential sentences on that case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that you have a right to have a jury trial as to each of these allegations? And at the jury trial, the state of Florida would have to prove those allegations against you beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. At that trial, your attorneys would be with you. They are experienced, board-certified criminal expert trial attorneys. They would be cross-examining witnesses, examining the evidence against you. You would have a right to present your own witnesses and your own evidence. If you had witnesses that did not want to come to court, you could have asked me to make them come to court with a subpoena. You could have spoke at your trial, or you could have exercised your right to remain silent and not spoken. That would have been your decision after you talked those decisions over with your attorneys, and your jury would have been instructed not to consider your decision to remain silent in any way in rendering the verdict. You would have had a right to have your trial recorded and appeal any errors that occurred in the process. Do you understand you are giving up all of your trial rights if the court accepts this plea? Because I will be imposing the sentence that you have agreed with the state of Florida to be imposed upon you, and we will not be having a trial on any of these matters. Do you understand those things?
I understand.
And Your Honor, just for record purposes, counts 9 through 13 are first degree felonies punishable by life, as the court indicated. Count 14 through 20 are actually life felonies.
These are life felonies with a minimum mandatory of 25 years. Is life a required sentence, or would that be a punishable by life offense?
It's a life punishable by life offense. I just wanted the record to be clear. This court indicated first degree felonies punishable by life. I just wanted the record to be clear that 14 through 20 are life felonies with 25-year minimum mandatories.
So the plea form indicates that these are first degree felonies. These are actually either capital offenses or punishable by life offenses. Do you understand that, Mr. Sterns?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is anyone forcing you or pressuring you into make the decision to resolve your case this way?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone made you any other promises other than what has been presented to you as the agreed upon sentence?
No, Your Honor.
Are you under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or mental issues that cause you not to understand the decision that you are making?
I am not.
You understand if you are not a United States citizen, that entry of this plea would subject you to deportation proceedings.
Yes,
If you ever before had been convicted of a sexually violent or a sexually motivated offense, entry of this plea would have subjected you to involuntary civil commitment at the conclusion of any incarcerative sentence. You understand that's the state of Florida law.
yes.
Ms. Smith, do you have any competency concerns regarding Mr. Sterns' fitness to accept this plea agreement? Ms. Borden?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Sterns, based on your responses to the court, based on your indicating that you have reviewed this decision with your attorneys, based on your initialing of the plea form and your acknowledgement that you understand all the terms and conditions, rights and obligations on these plea forms, including the addendum, the court is going to make a determination that you are alert. You have had an opportunity to discuss this with your attorneys, that you are making this decision freely and voluntarily and without coercion. The court accepts your plea. Let me see the attorneys.
Okay, you're hearing a lot of legal terminology right now. The judge just called the attorneys up to the bench. So, and I apologize, as the audio is a little low in the courtroom right now. We can't control that. We're just getting that feed in from the court. We're boosting it as much as possible. But here's what's going on. So Stephan Sterns was projected to have 2 trials this year, one for.
So, Mike, there's no surprises here. They're I'm sorry about the audio, because it seems as we may have hang on, let me put this. I think it's just replaying what we had before. So yeah, that's good. I got that one off, because we sort of have a double. That's what you were hearing. You were hearing some echo, and that was just from him. 2 things playing at different times, but at different. So, the attorneys are all approached. They have approached the bench. What they call that, a sidebar.
Yeah.
And they're all discussing the niceties of his sentence and agreeing on, the prosecution just wants certain things in the record that the judge may not have listed, so it doesn't give down the road anyone any type of reason for an appeal.
That's right.
So that's what they're doing at this point. But I mean, it seems like obviously Stephan Sterns is taking this and running to the bank with it, because he knows that he was going to get convicted of this case, and that would be the underlying felony for the capital murder case, which would put him in the needle chair. He'd be getting the needle, Mike.
Yeah, Bill, this is the best he can do. His attorney's done as good a job as she can in this case. You're right. The sidebar is there just to make sure that every single I is dotted, every single T is crossed. And you could see the prosecutor had mentioned something about the different counts, because the different counts against Madeline, depending on what the aggravating factor would be, some of them might be life without possibility of parole. Some of the essay might be just life, and with the possibility of parole. So she wanted to just make sure that she and the judge were on the same page with those slightly lesser charges with the punishment. So therefore, this is the best he can do. And I'm sure part of this plea behind the scenes is maybe some sort of assurance that he would ever be in general population, that he'd be in some sort of special population with other like people who have committed some sort of horrific SA crimes. So therefore, maybe his life would be a little bit more guarded than if he was in general population, where I don't think he'll make it to Labor Day. But however, I think this is what's going on right now. But he doesn't have much to bargain for. there's not much saving his life and maybe getting a little bit slightly more a safer environment. And the only other thing I could see is if he has information on some of the other people that he traded SA images of minors to over the internet, if he can provide names, locations, money exchange, he could actually, I hate to say it, but he could actually be useful for law enforcement to disgorge all the disgusting, information about who he was in contact with in different states in Florida, so that the FBI and the Florida police could actually round up these people and put them away too. So maybe that was part of this also.
I don't even know if they would go there, just because they have all the images. They had plenty of time to investigate his phone. So I think they just want to put him in prison as quickly as possible. This has been such a horrific case.
Right.
And, as you could see in this, Fuzzy Doxy, thank you so much for the $9.99 super sticker. Very much appreciated. Thank you, all you guys, for all your support to this channel. We're growing because of you guys, and we're working really hard at it. But thank you so much for all your support. It's very much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, this case is just so disgusting that I think many people, specifically the prosecution, they just want this case. They want him in prison. Get him out of here. They were very happy to go for the death penalty here, but he's such a despicable little weasel, that you don't even want to see him go to trial, and here he is. Now he's going to plead guilty. He's in the process of pleading guilty, and all the attorneys are just making sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So there's no possibility for any type of misunderstanding, any type of appeal down the road. And as soon as they can get this done and put Stephan Sterns in prison for the rest of his life, I think the better for the family of Madeline Soto, the better for the little classmates that Madeline Soto had in her school. I don't have that much sympathy for Jennifer Soto, and I would not be surprised. I believe she should be charged, but whether she is or not, I don't know if that will ever happen. But let's see what they're saying on these.
Having to hear some of the details that would come out in a trial like this. Either one of the two trials, that we would have seen, absent a plea agreement, would have to be so hard. At the same time, I would imagine that there's kind of that push and pull, that tension there, where you might want to see that stronger sentence or stronger potential for more penalty.
Exactly. The details, we always want to know why.
This is Fox 35 Orlando.
Why did he do this? Because he had been violating her for so long. So what was it that led him to murder her at this particular point in time? And, the community is often the bearers of the collateral damage from all of these things. And I'm not just talking about the biological family. I'm talking about the kids in the neighborhood, the neighbors that knew Madeline. I'm talking about her school, her classmates, her teachers, anyone that had any contact with her. They want to see often stronger penalties. They want to know how someone with such deviant behavior was allowed to navigate the community, and either somebody didn't know or they just didn't respond fast enough. And the penalties are what they are, but people often want to have stronger penalties. And the death penalty was one of those things that is now not an option for the community.
The attorneys going back
or
to
the
their
family
seats.
to consider.
Hey, Bill, I just want to shout out to Cheryl Moran.
Getting continuing now, so let's go ahead and listen back in.
Murder of Madeline Soto, Mr. Sterns, how do you plea to first-degree premeditated murder in 24 CF 1293?
No contest.
And as to counts 1 through 8, capital sexual battery of Madeline Soto while she was under the age of 12. Counts 9 through 13, sexual battery of Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18. And counts 14 through 20, lewd or lascivious molestation. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Prior to sentencing, does the state care to offer any victim impact testimony?
Your Honor, the first will be a written statement from Madeline's maternal grandmother. Yolanda Sambrana. Today I stand before you with a broken soul. I am Madeline's grandmother, but to her I was not grandma. Madeline always called me mama. She decided that since she was little, and that's how I felt with her, like a second mother who loved her with all my heart. Madeline was a happy little girl. She loved going shopping with me. That excited her so much that it felt like everything around us turned into color. I remember her face lighting up when we went to the stores, holding hands, laughing together in those moments. We connected, and I felt like she knew she was loved, protected, and valued. At night, we loved to play. It was in those moments, just before bed, that she laughed the most. Sometimes it's hard for me to close my eyes because I still hear her laughter. It was free, sweet, and sincere laugh, a sound I will never forget as long as I live. But that laughter was silenced by a horrific act, the very man who betrayed her trust, her innocence, her body. And if that wasn't enough damage, he took her life. And with her, he killed a piece of our souls. Since then, life has never been the same. Our family is empty and broken. There are days when the pain is so great that I feel like I'm drowning. And every time I think of everything she could have been, everything that was stolen from her, it hurts even more. Because Maddie wasn't just a victim. She was a little girl with a beautiful future, with a unique light, with so much love to give and receive. Today I am here because Maddie can no longer speak, but I can as her grandmother. As someone who loved her with all that I am, I come to ask for justice for her memory, for everything she lived through and should never have lived through. Justice so that no one else has to go through such a horror. I will never forget Maddie, her voice, her laughter, her eyes, her dreams. All of that lives in me, and so it will live forever. My beautiful girl, one day we will be reunited and we will never be separated again. I love you with all my heart. Thank you for listening to me with deep pain and eternal love.
That was an impact statement from Madeline Soto's grandmother.
This is a statement from Angelica Negro Guerrero. My name is Angelica Negro Guerrero. I lived with Maddie and Jennifer in the same house for about 2.5 years. Today, I take the liberty of expressing myself not just as a roommate, but as part of the family, as Maddie told me several times. How can I explain how this tragedy has impacted my life? There are so many emotions. I am an immigrant and I have lived in this country for 4 years. I left my country, Venezuela, alone with just a suitcase in my hand in search of a better future. Venezuela has been going through the worst moment in history, run by people blinded by power and money, people who have stolen the future of so many. I've always been against injustice, abuse, corruption, and evil in general. I couldn't picture myself living in a country where I had to witness every single day how a small corrupt group destroyed countless families and the beauty of my nation. And that's exactly why it has been so devastating for me to experience something so tragic, so close to me after coming here with a hope for a better life. I ended up living under the same roof with a man who took a life of a 13-year-old girl and with that shattered an entire family. What is the point of having dreams, plans, and opportunities if there is no life? If there is so much evil in the world? How can I explain what I felt and how this has affected me, especially considering that this same man took nude photos of my body without my consent, violating my privacy? I felt invaded, outraged, degraded, anguished, and absolutely shattered. I constantly think that my life was in danger too. I could have died. I am also a victim. And the only reason I'm here to write this is because God is great and I know I'm under his protection. This has affected my emotional, physical, and financial stability. I haven't been able to live with strangers ever again. Right now, I rent an apartment by myself. I pay it with all my effort just to feel safe and at peace. If I already had trouble trusting people before, now it's even harder. I can't imagine even handling a neighbor too close because it gives me anxiety. I tried to get psychological help to move forward, but this is something that will forever remain in my memory and continue to affect me deeply. To this day, I wish I could wake up and realize none of this ever happened, that this was just a nightmare. I wish I could still be spending time with Maddie, making her arepas with cheese and butter like she loved, and practicing our languages together. Me learning English and her learning Spanish. I'll never forget the words she always told Jennifer. Mommy, I would love to learn Spanish so I can talk a lot with Angelica. I think about all the time, and I wish it had been me who spoke English fluently back then. Maybe she would have opened up to me about the hell she was going through with that horrible man. I want justice for Madeline and for all the girls and women who have lived through something similar. I want him to pay for all the pain he caused her and the beautiful family I love with all my heart. I send all my love to the sky to Madeline so her soul may find peace. Angelica.
That was an impact statement from the roommate that lived with them. There's more.
This is from Zemina Zambrano, a cousin to Maddie Soto. To the Honorable Court, we write this letter with broken hearts still aching from the devastating loss of our beloved Maddie Soto. The pain of losing her is something no family should ever have to endure. But the nature of her death, the cruelty, the abuse, the inhumanity has inflicted a level of trauma and sorrow that words can scarcely convey. Maddie was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a granddaughter, a cousin, a niece, and a cherished soul in our close-knit and loving family. To know her was to love her. Her spirit, her kindness, and her light remained with us, even though her life was so brutally taken. She was not only murdered, she was discarded like she was nothing, thrown into the wilderness. That image haunts our minds and wounds our hearts every day. Into the wilderness. That image haunts our minds and wounds our hearts every day. Our grief has been compounded by the public scrutiny and the cruelty of strangers who speculate and judge without knowing the depth of our loss or the strength of our bond. We are a large family rooted in love, faith, and mutual support, and this tragedy has shaken us to our core, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Many of us suffer sleepless nights, constant anxiety, and depression. The trauma has left scars that will last a lifetime. We turn to God for comfort, and we trust that divine justice will ultimately be done. But we also place our faith in this court to uphold what is just and right. Maddie deserves that. Our family deserves that. We beg you to consider the profound impact this crime has had, not just on one individual, but on an entire family and community. Please ensure that the individual who committed this horrifying act is held fully accountable. Justice for Maddie cannot bring her back, but it can ensure that her life and her death are not dismissed or dishonored. Let there be no leniency for this cruelty. Let there be no question about the value of her life. Let justice be done. Sincerely, Jimena, please, on behalf of the Zambrano family.
Ma'am, can you tell the court your name?
My name is Leticia Nunez. I was Madeline's aunt.
Can you spell your first and last name for the court report?
Letizia, last name Nunez, Nunez. to Maddie. When I was 7 years old, a beautiful newborn baby was brought into our lives. And I remember being so excited because I was going to be an aunt. You gave me a sense of responsibility from such a young age because I wanted nothing more at that time than to help take care of you, play with you, and overall just make you a happy baby. You're truly missed every single day. I miss your laugh. I miss your smile. I miss your big, beautiful blue eyes. I miss doing the little things like picking you up from school, helping you with your homework, even though we both hated doing that. I just miss you and your presence. But that unfortunately was taken from us. I have so much hatred in my heart, specifically for the creature that's sitting in this room today. And no matter what happens or what justice could be brought, it kills me that it doesn't bring me back. I would give up my life if it meant having you here with us. Even though I was your aunt, you always felt much more like a little sister to me. Doing your hair for the father-daughter dances that my dad would take you to, letting you pick out clothes from my closet, doing your makeup and making sure it was very light because your natural beauty was worth more than any makeup product money could buy. I just miss you every single day, and it's left a hole in my heart from the day you've been gone. Your innocence was taken from you, and since clearly that wasn't enough for a certain someone, so was your life. You were the bravest little girl I've ever met, full of love, light, laughter, and as any positive thing I could think of, you were all of those things. I'm so blessed to have spent 13 years with someone so wonderful, and you're going to live on through all of us. Not because of what happened to you, because that didn't define who you were. I'm going to make sure my future kids know who you are, and make sure my grandkids know who you are, and so on. Today I sit here before everyone, and all I can say is that despite what anyone thinks they know, you were so loved by each and every one of your family members, and I know you felt you left this world knowing that. I know it would pain you to see what people have to say about your loved ones, but what I think of it all is that, and what I'd want you to think up in heaven is that it's all just noise. And I find comfort in the fact that we, your family, know you were beyond loved and beyond cared for. I'm so sorry we found out too late. But despite everything that was happening to you behind closed doors, you still remained one of the happiest human beings I've ever met. Someone who loved us deeply and made us all smile. Trying to find light in this horrible situation is very difficult, but one thing I am grateful for is that your last day on this earth was everything you wanted and more. You got the birthday you asked for. Your best friends were able to be with you. We cooked the food you specifically asked for, and overall, I have the memory of sitting outside by my pool looking at you and your friends and just thinking, I'm so glad she's having a great time. And look at how grown up she is. How she's blossoming into such an amazing young woman. I could go on forever, but I just want to leave this here by saying I love you so much, and I miss you endlessly. Everything I do from now on, any accomplishments, any decisions I make, anything that happens in my life, I'm going to do it for you and in your honor. I love you, Madeline Soto, and I hope you're resting peacefully now.
That was her aunt, Lapisa Nunez. Another person approaching the lectern to give an impact statement.
Can you tell the court your name and then spell your first and last name for the court reporter?
Natalie Rosero, Nathalie. Thank you, Your Honor, for having me here today. I've known the family for over 15 years. I am best friends with Maddie's aunt and was roommates with Maddie and her mom during the time her life was ended. All of our kids are the same age, so we always try to keep them united and spend as many holidays together. I have years worth of beautiful pictures, birthdays, Christmas, and Easters we all spent together. Those are the moments I try to hold on to as I stand here today. I'm here to express what the past year and a half has been like in my experience. From the moment we found out that Maddie went missing, life has never been the same. Those first 48 hours we set out to look for her, we spread flowers, went knocking on door to door, going to every business down John Young Parkway from Kissimmee to Sand Lake, asking for the public's help. All while seeing my best friend and her family have emotional breakdowns, feeling completely helpless and terrified for Maddie, thinking how could anyone just take her? It turns out we spent almost 3 days looking in the wrong location because Stephan lied to us about where he last saw her. Your Honor, that's the first time in my life I've ever felt true hate for anyone. The following days were filled with more sadness and distraught. We went from searching for a missing person to looking for a body. I had been searching for her as if my son was missing, so it was very difficult to accept that. We spent the rest of the week canvassing St. Cloud until they eventually found her body. Although there was a moment of relief that at least her body was found, that was the last sense of relief I've felt since that day. I was confident I had the power of discernment, but I couldn't even see the evil living in the same house. As details of the sexual abuse and her death came to light, you start to question everything. I even questioned my own faith. Having a full night's sleep became a luxury I could not afford. I was too anxious to sleep, constantly wanting to wake up from a nightmare. It wasn't until I started wishing death on him that I realized I needed help. I started going to therapy to try to deal with the grief and anger of losing Maddie the way we did. I also had to navigate my son's emotions as he finds out the cruelty that exists in this world. Holidays are not the same. The void is loud. It's hard to trust people. I am very guarded. I am hoping that when everything here is said and done, there can be some type of closure, even though Maddie's life can never be replaced. That is the only reason I am here today. As decisions are made, please keep in mind that she wasn't even my child, and I feel this way. I cannot imagine the pain, trauma, and deception that Maddie's family has experienced. I do not wish this pain and suffering on any other child or family. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Stephanie online would like to address the board.
We're joined by an online presence. Stephanie, you may unmute your microphone and let the court know how this has affected your family and yourself.
Can you tell the court your first and last name and spell them, please?
Someone in the courtroom wants to give an impact statement, but she's overcome with emotion.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, hi. I'm sorry. To the court. Maddie brought a light into her. Maddie brought a light into my life that I would never be able to describe. With her outgoing personality and her infectious smile, her infectious laugh. She was so kind-hearted, adventurous, and loving. Now that she's gone, everything's changed.
This is someone online talking from their computer,
Right.
not in the courtroom.
The silence where her laughter used to be is deafening. The hole in my heart is bottomless, and the pain is indescribable. My family's life has been shattered. What we've endured and what we will continue to endure for the rest of our lives is a kind of pain that I do not wish on anyone. No family should have to lose a loved one in this horrible manner, especially at such young. Her life was taken. Her future. I should say, never see her fall in love, get married, or build a future that she deserved. With her. This while in her.
This is from someone on a computer, not inside the courtroom. They seem to be overcome with emotion. That's why I have huge gaps in her statement.
Yeah.
So far, Stephan Sterns has pled guilty to the SA, but no contest to the murder.
Right.
So the
I'm so sorry. I'm not in a good place with connection. I apologize.
You may continue. We can
This
hear you.
This vile and heartless crime has not only affected and traumatized my family, but so many other families as well. It has also impacted her friends, all of those who knew her, as well as the whole community. There are nights where I can't sleep, nights where I wake up gasping for air, haunted by what Maddie must have gone through. I am consumed by grief. I carry such an anger that it eats away at me on a daily basis. A depression I never thought was possible. The emptiness touches every moment of every day. And everywhere I look, I see her. I hear her laugh in my memories, and then I remember she's gone, and it destroys me all over again. To know what Maddie went through and how terrified she must have been is unbearable. The thought of her suffering haunts me. The cruelty of what was done to her will never stop echoing in my mind. I asked the court for something that I know I could never really have, justice. Because real justice would mean that Maddie would be here with us and not you. You still get to wake up every day, something you cruelly stole from her and from us. The way you discarded Maddie as if she was nothing and her life had no value is a true reflection of your evil. The suffering you caused her should be given back to you tenfold. You do not deserve peace. You do not deserve mercy. You deserve to carry the weight of her pain every single day, just how we will carry it for the rest of our lives. And let me be perfectly clear. Where you go after this life will not be where Maddie is. She is in a place of peace surrounded by love. You, on the other hand, will never know peace. You will never see her again. You're not going where she is going. You're going to hell. Thank you, court.
And Stephanie, can you tell the court your first and last name, please?
Stephan Soto.
Thank you.
Soto, so she's in the family, Stephanie Soto.
Yeah.
Unknown if there's any more impact statements.
Stephanie Soto, did you get it? I'm sorry.
Soto, we can hear you. Thank you for your statement.
If someone else is approaching the microphone right now for another impact statement, this is very emotional here, especially for the people
Can you tell the court
presenting.
your first and last name and spelling?
Kimberly Vialta. Your Honor, I stand here today to give you a little insight of how loved and how losing Maddie has destroyed my family. Although Maddie was not my blood, I considered her my family. And I loved her like my own niece. Maddie was a kind and bubbly child and was growing up to be the most amazing young lady. She loved arts and crafts, Taylor Swift, and sour gummy candy. I had the honor and privilege of spending many holidays and special occasions with Maddie over the years, and I will cherish those memories forever. I do not have joy or happiness left in me because this monster took that away from us when he killed Maddie. Every day I feel like life is not worth living anymore because such heinous evil exists in this world. There is not a day that goes by where I do not think about all the pain and suffering that Maddie endured. This monster took advantage of her trust and her innocence. This parasite robbed us of every moment we could have had with Maddie. And our lives will never be the same. A life sentence is not punishment enough for what he did to Maddie. However, it gives me comfort to know that he will spend the rest of his miserable life in prison. I hope he lives a long and healthy life so he suffers every single day.
Therefore, I ask the court to not take any mercy on this poor excuse of a human when imposing his sentence, because he does not deserve it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very touching, these victim impact statements. There's more people approaching, a male and a female approaching the dais.
Can you let the court know your names?
My name is Tyler Wallace.
Tatiana Wallace.
Tyler, what's your relationship to Madeline Soto?
Madeline Soto was my daughter.
Go ahead.
There's the biological
Madeline
father.
Soto
Yes.
was my daughter. She was happiness. She was a joy to be around. She was quirky and intelligent. She was curious. A little forgetful like me too. That happens sometimes, but I just loved her so much. And I was not able to be in her life as much as I would like to, due to circumstances and choices I've made, due to the way finances worked. I was strained in my relationship with my daughter, and that was finally getting better. The last time I saw her was in October of 2023, and she had come to visit for a few days. And when I took her back to the airport, I said, you know, you're turning 13 soon. When you turn 13, you have a choice of which guardian you're interested in staying with. Would you like to stay with me and talk to you? And she said, yes, that she would. And so I was this close to having my little girl, sir. Because of the actions of this depraved man, I will never meet the woman she was becoming. And I can't grasp it. I can't grasp the selfishness of you, the deplorability of your actions. You're depraved. You're weak. You're a coward. You're a sneak thief. You crept into a family and took advantage and exploited them when they were weak.
This is the father of Madeline
It's torn my
Soto.
family apart. It's led to arguments about who can go where and who can get what and who can help who, but we're all on edge because it doesn't heal with time. This isn't like other deaths that I've experienced. This just gets worse. It just gets worse every time I rethink about it and the true horror of what this man visited upon her. And I can only hope that he lives a long time in prison and has those same horrors revisited upon him by his fellow inmates. Thank you.
That was Madeline Soto's father.
It has no further witnesses.
That was the last of the impact statements.
Defense, any input prior to sentencing? If you have additional input.
I think there's one more person that approached the lectern with an impact
My name is
statement.
Leslie Vajalta.
And how are you related to?
I'm a close friend of Maddie's family. Most people only know Maddie as the victim of a heinous crime, but I'd like to talk about Maddie today, and I'd like to share some things that I really loved about her. I loved how fearless Maddie was. She was an amazing swimmer. She was a fast learner. The moment she set her mind to something, she did it. That's how she was about everything. She dove into everything head first, and she was so resilient. She had the most beautiful smile. It lit up our entire life. Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, I was so excited to see her, to talk to her about her life. She's so curious. She's so smart. She could sing. She loved to perform for us. Maddie enjoyed watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Bob's Burgers. She even dressed up as Louise one year for Halloween. And I loved her witty, outspoken personality. She's so funny. And that's how I want everyone to leave here thinking about her, remembering her. She lost a lot of privacy towards the end of her life. And I want her to be remembered by her amazing qualities, not the abuse she endured and the exploitation she endured by her abuser. There's not 1 second of my life that I don't think about Maddie. I'll forever celebrate her in my heart and out loud. Maddie was too good for the world, and she did not deserve any of this. Ever since she's been gone, our family, our joy, everything is destroyed. No one smiles anymore. No one laughs. Most days I can't even leave my house. I feel like I can't breathe. And I'm not even her blood relative. I was just so lucky to be a part of life. He took Maddie away from us. He took away her whole childhood. He took away all her potential that we saw in her, and he took everything from us. And now it's time for him to reap what he sows. This disgusting parasite stole Maddie's youth, her innocence, her life, her joy. He has stolen our sense of safety. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see his disgusting face. I can imagine what he did to her. I know every detail. I've read everything. I will never bring children into this world because of people like him, depraved, disgusting maggots just like him. He's not the only one. May God forgive him because I definitely do not. I please ask the court to prosecute him to the fullest extent. Show no mercy, exactly how he did Maddie. Justice for Maddie. Thank you.
Nothing further.
Any input prior to
Yes, Your Honor, we would like to thank the State Attorney's Office for sparing Mr. Sterns' life, and we do sincerely hope that this will bring closure and help to start the healing process for Ms. Soto's.
Court has accepted Mr. Sterns' plea of no contest for the first-degree premeditated murder of Madeline Soto and his plea of guilty to 8 counts of sexual battery on Madeline Soto under the age of 12, sexual battery upon Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18 in a familial custodial role, and lewd or lascivious molestation, counts 14 through 20. State, do you have an announcement as to the notice of intent to seek the penalty of death?
Your Honor, we will waive the notice of intent to seek death. We will file an electronic null pros for counts 21 through 60. And we are also asking that you inquire about waiving a PSI, just in abundance of caution.
Based on the announcement from the state of Florida, the maximum potential sentence in these cases is life in prison without the possibility of parole, as the notice of intent to seek the penalty of death has been waived. Ms. Smith, as to 2024 CF 632, is there a waiver of an entitlement to a pre-sentence investigation?
Yes, Judge.
Gordon, as to the remaining case 2024 CF 1293, is there a waiver of entitlement to a pre-sentence investigation?
Yes, he is not entitled to a PSI on this.
Thank you. The court has had an opportunity to hear the anguish and the fury of shattered families. Everyone in the gallery has had an opportunity to hear the anguish and the fury of community mourning and permanently diminished. Folks joining us around the state and the country remotely have heard the opportunity to hear the anguish and fury of a meaningful future that was stolen and a beautiful promise of Madeline Soto's life extinguished permanently. Stephan Sterns, you have had the opportunity to hear that anguish and fury from your actions. As to first-degree premeditated murder of Madeline Soto, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to the capital sexual battery of Madeline Soto while she was under the age of 12, each count, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the sexual battery of Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The lewd and lascivious molestation of Madeline Soto, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. These sentences will run concurrently, meaning at the same time. The state of Florida has withdrawn their notice of intent to seek the penalty of death. These are the maximum sentences permitted to the court. Each case will have court costs that will be reduced to a civil judgment.
Twenty 2024 CF 632, court costs are $11,163. As to 24 CF 1293, $666.
Court incorporates the addendum to the plea form as to each plea in 2024 CF 632 and 2024 CF 1293. Not announced. You are adjudicated guilty as counts 1 through 8, 24 CF 632. State any further sentencing considerations?
Yes, Your Honor. With regards to count 14 through count 20 in 24 CF 632, the court sentenced to life in prison, there is a 25-year minimum mandatory with that as well. The state also provided the court with a score sheet which encompasses counts 9 through 20. It includes penetration and contact points as well. A copy of that has been provided to defense as well in the court. I haven't been made aware of any corrections or additions or subtractions.
Do not have a copy of this.
Should be with the plea form, Your Honor.
It's not. I'm going to need a copy of the score sheet, please. Ms. Smith, Ms. Borden, the total sentence points pursuant to the Criminal Punishment Code score sheet are 1,278 with a lowest permissible prison sentence in months of 937.5 months. That doesn't include sexual penetration points of 80 times 5 and sex contact points of 40 times 7. Any errors, corrections, or omissions to the score sheet? Ms. Smith? Ms. Borden?
Your Honor.
25-year minimum mandatory sentence as to the counts requiring a minimum mandatory sentence are imposed. You will have the right to appeal the judgment and sentences of the court. If you wish to do so, you must do so in writing within the next 30 days. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. The appeal will be limited to the jurisdiction of the court to impose the sentence. Legality of the sentence itself is a condition of your agreement with the state of Florida. You are agreeing not to appeal the pretrial rulings of the court. State anything else? Defense, anything else? Thank you. Let's place Mr. Sterns under, he's been previously placed under oath.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to make a brief statement. I agree that it's not fair that Madeline is not here anymore. I still have a hard time contemplating a world where she's not around, a world which feels less vibrant and less colorful than it did before. I've prayed to God countless times to trade places with her, to take me instead. But unfortunately, that's just not how he works. I have nothing but sorrow for her loss, and I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well, and she truly was a joy. I pray to God that she is in heaven and that he's taking good care of her. And I hope she gets to join the choir because she had a beautiful voice. I will miss her all the time. I will never not honor her memory. And I apologize for all the pain.
Anything further? Conclude our plea and sentencing hearing. We'll be in recess.
Well, Mike, I can't believe he addressed the court. That was unbelievable. Like, really, you're going to address the court? You're the one who killed this young girl. The nerve of him to do that was just, to me, outrageous. And Erin Kelly, I just want to thank you for the 50-pound
Yes.
super sticker. Forever 13, Maddie, in the arms of the angels. Thank you, Bill and Mike, for all that you do. Well, thank you for your support. Mike, before we go off, and I just want to mention, we are on tonight at 9 p.m. with retired FBI agent Jim Clemente, and we're going to cover the Brian Koberger case and an angle from that we believe strongly that many other people don't, that there was a psychosexual angle. And Jim Clemente and Bobby Chacon, both writers for the TV show Criminal Minds, both retired FBI agents. That's 9 p.m. tonight. But first, I just want to ask Mike one thing. Mike, what is the difference between pleading guilty and pleading no contest? Can you just straighten that out for me?
Well, when you plead guilty, you're affirmatively saying that you, in fact, did the crime. When you plead no contest, you're saying that the only thing you're saying is that I will not contest the charges against me, which means it's an indirect way of saying, yes, I did it, but you don't want to say, yes, I did it. You just want to say, I will not contest the charges, which means that it's a guilty plea will be entered on your behalf. So it's rather strange that he would plead no contest to the homicide, yet plead guilty to the SA, which is why he did that. I don't know. Maybe in his warped little mind, there's someone else who's really responsible for her death, and that he's taken the hit for them. Some sort of strange machinations in his mind, but that's what it really is. Instead of saying I affirmatively admit I did it, you're saying I will not contest the charges against me. So whatever the law is, whatever it is, you're going to find me guilty, Your Honor. So it's a conviction. It's a conviction in an indirect way.
All right. Thank you for clearing that up, folks. I just want to say, sort of anticlimactic in a way. We didn't expect all of this to actually happen today, but he pled guilty to the SA charges, and that carries a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. And then he pled no contest to the murder first degree. Again, he's getting life in prison without parole. And what it did spare, it spared his life. And that's where the death penalty does come into play as a negotiating tool for the prosecution. Whether you believe in the death penalty or you don't believe in it, there's two in a row, Koberger and Stephan Sterns, that both pled guilty because they wanted to have their life spared. Mike, your final thoughts? I know this has been a pretty long show. Thank you for your wisdom here. Well,
anyone looking for justice for Madeline, you've been disappointed, but it's the best, unfortunately, that we can do given our criminal justice system, the way it's set up. And so we have to accept that until we can come up with something better. That's it. But maybe, just maybe for some people, they can heal a little bit, not all completely. That'll never happen, but they could heal a little bit and move on. Very strange that Jen Soto didn't show up, but her biological father did. But she's a beautiful little girl. She'll never, ever, ever be essayed by this monster again, and he will live the rest of his life in a 6 by 8 foot hell. And so that's good.
Mike, in all my police career, I've seen a lot of bad mofos, and he was the most despicable character, though. Just had no soul, had no moral compass, had no redeeming values that I could say, oh, he was this or he was that. He was just a dirtbag from every way you looked at him. He was a total dirtbag, and he is going somewhere where he belongs for the very rest of his life. And folks, I want to, we covered this from February 26, 2024. And, I always say I hate that word closure. This is no closure. This little girl, her life was taken. This little girl had a miserable life because of this guy, Stephan Sterns. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. And don't forget tonight, 9 p.m. to tune in to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.